The valley of Elah stretched wide under the sun. It was an ancient land baked by years of heat. On one side of the valley, upon a low hill, stood the army of Israel. Their banners were still. Their spirits were low. They watched the valley floor with weary eyes. On the opposite hill stood the army of the Philistines. They were a proud and mighty force. Their spears caught the light. Their shouts echoed across the dry earth. Between these two great armies lay a quiet expanse of dust and stone, a battlefield waiting for a battle that would not begin. For 40 days, a shadow had fallen over the camp of Israel. This shadow had a name. It was Goliath. He was a giant of a man, from the city of Gath. His height was fearsome to behold. He wore a helmet of bronze upon his head. A coat of mail, heavy and thick, covered his body. His legs were protected by bronze armor, and a bronze javelin was slung between his shoulders. The staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and its iron point was heavy and sharp. A shield-bearer walked before him, a small man in the giant's vast shadow. Every morning and every evening, Goliath would stride out from the Philistine lines. He would stand in the middle of the valley.
His voice was a deep rumble, like thunder rolling down from the hills. He would issue a challenge. "Why have you come out to draw up for battle? Choose a man for yourselves, and let him come down to me. If he is able to fight with me and kill me, then we will be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then you shall be our servants and serve us."
His words were a daily poison to the men of Israel. The fear in the camp of Israel was a palpable thing, a coldness in the hearts of the soldiers. King Saul felt it most of all. He and all his men were dismayed and greatly afraid. Day after day the challenge went unanswered. No man dared. Trapped between the pride of their king and the terror of the giant, they returned to their tents, their shame as heavy as unused armor. Far from the valley of fear, a young shepherd boy tended his father's flock. His name was David. He was the youngest of his brothers, with a ruddy complexion and beautiful eyes. He did not know the ways of war. He knew the paths of the wilderness, and the quiet of the fields, and the dangers of the lion and the bear. His father, Jesse, called to him one day, and sent him to his brothers in the valley of Elah. He told David to take food to his 3 eldest brothers: bread, roasted grain, cheeses for their captain. David rose early in the morning, left the sheep with another keeper, and began his journey. He came to the camp just as the army was going out to the battle line, soldiers shouting the war cry. He ran to the ranks to greet his brothers. As he spoke with them, the great champion came forward once more and spoke his usual defiant words. David heard them. He saw the men of Israel flee from the giant. He felt a fire begin to burn within him. He did not understand their fear.
"What shall be done for the man who kills this Philistine and takes away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?"
His eldest brother Eliab heard him. His anger was kindled. He accused the boy of pride and of leaving the sheep to watch a battle, and told him to go home. But David was not deterred. His words were reported to King Saul, and the king sent for him. The young shepherd stood before the tall king. Saul was a man worn down by worry.
"Let no man's heart fail because of him. Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine."
Saul looked at the boy, so young and without armor. He saw only a shepherd.
"You are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are but a youth, and he has been a man of war from his youth."
David listened to the king's doubts. He did not waver. He told Saul of his life as a shepherd and of the dangers he faced alone.
"Your servant used to keep sheep for his father. A lion, a bear. I went after him and struck him and delivered it out of his mouth."
His voice was calm, filled with quiet confidence. He explained that the same God who had delivered him would deliver him from this giant. Saul heard the faith. A flicker of hope stirred within the king.
"Go, and the Lord be with you."
Then, thinking as a king and a warrior, Saul offered his own armor to the boy. He placed a bronze helmet on David's head and clothed him in his coat of mail. David strapped the king's sword over the armor. But the armor was not his own. It was heavy and unfamiliar. He tried to walk, but he could not. He was weighed down by the very things meant to protect him. So David took them off. He put aside the king's helmet and the king's sword, and chose to face the giant as himself, as the shepherd he had always been. He took his staff, went to the dry stream, chose 5 smooth stones, placed them in his bag. His sling was in his hand. Goliath saw the boy approaching. He looked him over with contempt. He saw a youth with no armor, carrying only a staff. The giant was insulted. "Am I a dog, that you come to me with sticks?" His voice boomed across the silent valley. He cursed David by his gods. "Come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and to the beasts of the field." The threat was meant to freeze the boy with terror, to end the fight before it began. But David was not afraid. He answered, his voice clear and strong, "You come to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a javelin. But I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." He declared that this day the Lord would deliver the giant into his hand. He spoke not of his own strength, but of God's power. Then David began to run toward the Philistine line, toward the giant. As he ran, he reached into his bag and took out one of the smooth stones. He placed it carefully into the leather pouch of his sling. He began to swing it. The sling made a soft whistling sound that grew into a sharp hum. It circled over his head, faster and faster. David took aim. He let one end of the sling go. The stone shot forward, a small, swift messenger of fate. It flew straight and true. The stone struck the giant on his forehead, the one place not covered by bronze. The stone sank into his brow. For a moment he stood motionless, eyes wide with shock. He swayed, and then he fell, crashing face down onto the earth. The ground shook. The battle was over.